The tension behind the lights' sun had just started rising over the quiet hills of the film set tucked in the outskirts of Santa Barbara. The crew moved like ghosts in the early light, whispering instructions, adjusting lights, preparing the first scene of the day. The atmosphere buzzed with quiet urgency, but beneath that, something else lingered, a heaviness that not everyone noticed. Ana de Armas sat alone near the makeup trailer, her hands folded tightly in her lap. Her eyes were downcast, fixed on the corner of her script, which she had read 100 times already. Her lips moved without sound, reciting the lines she knew by heart. But today wasn't about the lines. It was about something deeper. Something that had followed her onto the set long before the camera started rolling. Keanu Reeves stood a few feet away, leaning quietly against a lighting rig, sipping coffee from a plain, worn thermos. He noticed things others didn't, not because he tried to, but because he had learned to watch the quiet. Years in the business had taught him that the loudest pain often came from the quietest. People. Ana had always been strong on screen. Her energy filled the room, her laughter brightened the longest days. But this morning, there was no laughter. There was only a silence that didn't belong to her. "Morning," Keanu said gently, approaching. She looked up, surprised. "Morning." He offered a soft smile, not pressing. "Scene 9 today?" she asked, though she already knew. "Yeah," he said, nodding. "It's the emotional one." She gave a small nod and looked away. He didn't ask what was wrong. Instead, he sat down beside her and sipped his coffee. The silence between them felt real, not awkward. It had a way of making space feel safe. After a while, she broke. "I got a message last night. From home." His eyes stayed on the trees, but his body turned slightly toward her. She didn't need to say more, but she did. "My father is not well. He's hiding it. My mother didn't want to worry me, but I know I can feel it." Keanu didn't respond right away. He just sat there, letting her speak, letting her feel. "I wanted to fly out to go see him. They begged me not to. He told me to stay. He told me to finish this." Her voice cracked, and she looked away quickly, blinking hard. "You ever feel like you're in two places at once?" she whispered. Keanu nodded slowly. "Every day." Her eyes turned toward him. "When my sister was sick," he said, his voice quiet, "I was filming in Berlin. I'd walk onto set, smile, say the lines, hit my marks. But inside, ... I was sitting by her hospital bed, holding her hand." Ana's eyes watered. "What did you do?" "I did the work, but every break, every pause, ... I called. I left her voice notes. I sent flowers. I told her stories. I made her laugh. When filming wrapped, I flew straight to her." Ana inhaled deeply, trying not to let the tears fall, "and she waited for me," Keanu added. "She always said, 'Don't rush sadness. Let it walk beside you.'" Ana looked down, her hands trembling now. A call from the assistant director broke the moment. "Scene 9, we're ready?" Ana stood slowly. Her legs felt heavier than usual. Her heart was louder than the director's call. Keanu stood beside her. "You want to walk through the lines?" "No," she said, wiping a tear. "I know them." He nodded. "Then let's do it together." The scene was a heavy one. Her character was meant to break down in front of his, to release months of pent-up emotion. The cameras rolled, the lights brightened, and everyone watched as Ana stepped into the moment. But something unexpected happened. Her voice faltered, her lips moved, but the words didn't come. Her eyes locked with Keanu's, and in that instant, she wasn't acting. The pain on her face was real. Her father, her fear, her helplessness. There was silence, long enough for someone to call cut. But no one did. Keanu stepped forward, out of script, out of the plan. He reached out slowly, took her trembling hand, and placed it over his chest. "Feel that?" he whispered, audible enough for the boom mic to catch. "You're not alone." Ana's knees buckled slightly, but he held her, not tightly, just enough to say, "I've got you." The director, unsure whether to interrupt, let it roll. What followed wasn't the scene they rehearsed. It wasn't Even the scene that was written, it was better. It was real, Ana cried. Not on cue, not for the camera. She cried because her heart needed to. Because someone saw her, not the actress, not the character, but the woman behind the eyes. When the scene ended, there was silence on set, then slow applause. Not for the performance, but for the moment. Ana stepped away, breathless. Keanu didn't say a word. He just walked with her slowly toward the trailers. As they passed crew members, no one stopped them. No one congratulated them. No one broke the quiet, because everyone felt it. Something sacred had happened. Something no one planned. Later. That evening, Ana sat alone in her trailer. Her father had texted, "Just a simple thinking of you." She typed back, "I felt you today. We did good." A soft knock on her trailer door. "Yeah," she called out. Keanu stepped in, holding a small wrapped box. "For your father," he said. She blinked. "What is it?" "A watch. My sister gave it to me once. She said it reminded her time was precious, not promised." Ana held the box to her chest. "He'll love it." Keanu smiled. "He already does." "You." She smiled back, this time with strength in her eyes. As Keanu left, T paused at the door. "Scene 10 tomorrow," he said gently. "Yeah," she whispered, but this time she wasn't. Scared because she knew no matter what the script said, she had someone beside her who understood what the camera couldn't see. Someone who had lived enough pain to carry hers too. Someone who chose silence. Not for lack of words, but because kind. The whisper that changed the Seth next morning. The sky was clear, but the wind carried a strange chill. It wasn't the kind that made people shiver. It was the kind that made people think. The set felt different. Lighter, somehow yet deeper too. The crew moved with quiet purpose. People smiled at each other in small, respectful ways. Something had shifted after the scene from yesterday. Something no one could quite name. Ana walked onto set early, her usual assistant jogging behind her. With a coffee in hand, she didn't wait for the trailer today. She didn't hide. She stood by the edge of the soundstage, watching the final pieces of equipment being wheeled in. Keanu was already there. Always early, always still, always sitting. On the edge of a prop bench, script in hand, but not looking at it. Instead, he was watching the light change on the wall, as if even shadows told stories. She sat next to him without a word. He offered her the last half of his croissant without looking away. She took it. "How's your father?" he asked gently. "Still tired," she said, but smiling. "Good," he replied. "That means a lot." Ana looked at him. "Why did you give him your sister's watch?" He thought about it. Not in a dramatic way, just in the quiet way he did everything. "Because he's your anchor," he said softly. "Sometimes anchors need reminding that the storms will pass." Linked slowly. Words never came in big speeches. They came like raindrops, soft, steady, and impossible to ignore. That day's scene was intense, physical. A tense argument between their characters. Loaded with betrayal and pain, it was one of the few scenes where Ana had to shout. Her character had to break plates, throw things, scream. But the closer they got to filming, the more she felt it slip. Her voice didn't want to scream. Not like that. Not in anger. The director walked over, young and sharp, and a little too eager. "Ana, can we go big today? We need rage. Like storm the house kind of fury." Ana nodded politely, but inside her stomach twisted. "Got it," she said, but it didn't feel right. Rehearsals started. Ana tried. She shouted. She threw a vase, but it felt hollow. The crew felt it too. "Cut!" The director barked, frustration in his voice. "Ana, it's not popping. Give me more." Stood still across from her, watching. Not judging, just seeing dot. Ana took a breath. "Another try?" The vase smashed against the wall. Her voice echoed. "Cut!" The director snapped. "This isn't working." Everyone shifted uncomfortably. A grip dropped something. A makeup artist turned away. The silence grew thick again. But this time, it wasn't healing. It was tense. Brittle Ana stepped back, head low. "Maybe she needs a break," someone whispered. "Maybe she's not ready," another voice murmured. Then Keanu walked forward, slow, quiet. He didn't look at the director. He didn't look at the cameras. He looked only at Ana. "Can I try something?" he asked, loud enough for the crew to hear. The director hesitated. Sure." Keanu walked up to her. They stood close. The room waited. He didn't raise his voice. Instead, he leaned in slightly and said, "Remember what you said yesterday? About feeling like you're in two places at once?" Ana nodded slowly. "This scene isn't about shouting," he whispered. "It's about trying not to. It's about holding it in until you can't." Ana stared at him, heart pounding. "Don't scream yet," he said. "Hold it, keep it inside. Show the battle, not the explosion." She nodded again. The director signaled to roll action. Ana walked into the scene, her breath shallow, her chest rising and falling. Keanu stood across from her, still and calm. She picked up the prop vase again. Her hand trembled. Her eyes burned. "Where were you?" she asked, voice shaking. His character didn't reply. "You said you'd be there." "Still, nothing." Her voice cracked. "Do you know what that did to me?" He took a slow breath, eyes never leaving hers. Ana's shoulders dropped. Not in weakness and surrender. She didn't throw the vase. She set it down gently. Then she whispered, "I waited, ... and you never came." Her lips quivered. A single tear slid down her cheek. Keanu stepped forward and said, "I didn't think I deserved to." Ana's knees gave slightly. Not scripted, not planned. He caught her. "Cut the," director said softly. No one clapped. They didn't need to. It was the realest thing they'd seen all week. Ana stayed in Keanu's arms for a moment. Not out of character, but out of something deeper. "You held me up again," she said quietly, so only he could hear. "No," he replied. "You stood on your own. I was just nearby." That night, word of the moment spread across the set. The story was whispered from camera crew to lighting team. From production assistant to costume lead, Keanu hadn't raised his voice. He hadn't delivered a speech, but his quiet direction, his gentle redirect, had turned the entire day around. People started calling it the whisper that changed the set. Ana sat in her trailer again, writing a message to her father. "Today. I didn't shout, I didn't break anything, but I finally let something go. Someone caught it." She stared at her phone, then added, "His name is Keanu. And he's not just a co-star. He's a lighthouse." She had sent out outside her trailer. She heard soft guitar music, curious, as she stepped out. There was Keanu, sitting on a crate strumming. A few soft notes. Nothing flashy, just peaceful. "What's that?" she asked. "Something my sister used to hum," he said. When she couldn't sleep, Ana sat next to him. They didn't speak for a long while, just listened. To the strings. To the wind. Finally, Ana looked at him and said, "I don't know what I would have done without you these past few days." He gave her a quiet smile. "You would have done fine," he said, "but maybe a little lonelier." And that was it. Not a grand speech. Not a heroic gesture. The interview that tried to break Earth's morning sun was strong that day. Too bright. The kind of light that made everything sharp, everything visible. Nothing could hide in this light, not even the truth. Ana arrived early, feeling more grounded than she had in days. She wore a soft green hoodie, sunglasses, and a quiet smile. There was a calm in her chest. The kind that only came after you'd walked through fire and realized you were still standing. Today's scene wasn't until the afternoon, so the morning was set aside for press. A small group of journalists had been invited to do interviews with the cast. Friendly, quick, standard studio. Promotion. Ana had done 1,000 interviews before. She knew how to smile, how to answer the same questions with a fresh tone. She knew how to nod and pivot when needed. But something about today, it felt different. Maybe it was the way the interviewer looked at her when she sat down, too curious. Too rehearsed. Keanu was in the interview before her, and when he walked out, He gave her a small nod, supportive, calm, but there was a flicker in his eyes. A warning. Ana took her seat, lights on.
Thanks, Liv.
Camera blinking. The interviewer smiled, polite and sharp. Ana, thank you for joining us, he began. Thank you for having me, she replied. The first few questions were easy, about the film, her character, how it felt working with Keanu. She answered them with grace, but then came the shift, so the interviewer said, tilting his head. A few whispers from the set suggest this role has been emotionally challenging for you. Would you say that's accurate? Ana blinked. Every role has its weight, she said carefully. This one carries personal meaning for me. But that's part of what makes storytelling beautiful. He nodded, pretending to agree, and some say Keanu has been guiding you a lot through this process, almost like a mentor. Would you say you're leaning on him heavily during this shoot? Ana felt her throat tighten. The question wasn't really a question, it was a dig, meant to frame her as weak, dependent. Keanu and I support each other, she replied. That's what great partnerships look like. But the interviewer didn't stop. I just wonder, he continued, if your emotional moments on set, like the scene where you froze or when the crew had to pause, filming are maybe signs you weren't ready for a role this intense? There it was, a knife disguised as curiosity. Ana smiled softly, not to be polite, but to steady herself. You know, she said, when my father first got sick, I didn't think I'd be able to do this film. I thought I'd be too distracted, too drained, but someone reminded me that real strength doesn't always look like control. Sometimes it looks like showing up even when you're breaking. The interviewer hesitated. Ana leaned forward. If people saw me cry on set, that's fine. If they saw me freeze, that's fine too. Because what matters is that I kept going. The room was quiet then, she added, and for the record, I don't lean on Keanu. I stand beside him. The interviewer's smile faltered. Thank you, he muttered, moving to the next question. The interview wrapped up. The cameras cut. Ana stood, calm and steady, as she walked out. Keanu was waiting near the door. He tried to corner you, he said quietly. He did, she replied. But he picked the wrong day, he smiled. You were brilliant, he said. I meant what I said, she told him. Ow. I don't lean on you. Keanu looked at her and nodded. I know. But I do feel stronger beside you. He paused. Same, he said softly. That afternoon, they filmed the most emotionally intense scene in the film, a goodbye. Their characters, once close, now separated by betrayal, stood across from each other with a river of pain between them. Ana had to deliver a monologue, filled with sorrow, regret, and suppressed love. It was long, raw, and word-heavy. The director was nervous. Are you sure you're ready for this? He asked. Ana looked up. I'd roll it. The camera rolled. She stepped into the scene like walking into a storm. Every word came from somewhere. Real. Every pause, every glance, every breath. Truth. Her voice trembled in the right places. Her eyes held back tears until the last sentence. When a single one broke free, I loved you, she whispered. But I couldn't love myself when I was with you. Cut dead silence. Then the director stood up, mouth open. That's it, he whispered. That's the scene. The crew clapped softly. Keanu walked to her, didn't say a word. Just looked at her with quiet pride. She wiped her face, smiling through tears. Thank you, she said. For what? He asked. For being beside me when I needed it, ... and knowing when to step back when I didn't. He placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. You didn't need saving, just space. That evening, the studio's official behind-the-scenes team uploaded a short clip from the interview. Not the sharp question, but Ana's response. Real strength doesn't always look like control. Sometimes it looks like showing up even when you're breaking. Within hours, it went viral. Millions viewed it. Comments poured in from fans, from fellow actors, from people who had never seen her films. They wrote things like, "This is the kind of honesty the world needs." She didn't flinch. She stood. Tall. Her strength is quiet but unshakable. Ana scrolled through them slowly, quietly moved. She texted her father a link to the video. He replied, "You've always been strong, Mia. But now the world sees it too." She smiled. Outside, she heard guitar strings again. She stepped out and saw Keanu beneath the tree, playing the same song he always did when the day had been too heavy. This time, she sat beside him and sang a soft verse along. No spotlight, no camera, just two people, two hearts. The rumors, the pressure, and the fire inside it had been 3 days since that scene. The one where Ana didn't scream. The one where the silence said more than words ever could. But behind the scenes, things were shifting. Not all of it was good, Ana noticed at first when she stepped onto set and felt eyes on her, not the usual polite stares of admiration, but something different. People whispered more. Conversations stopped when she walked into the room. Even the makeup chair, once a place of light chatter and jokes, felt colder. She didn't say anything. Not at first, but later, while getting her hair styled for the next scene. She overheard 2 junior assistants talking near the mirror. "They're saying she's being difficult," one whispered, "like controlling the scenes." "No way." The other replied, "She's just emotional lately. It's the pressure, and Keanu's always babysitting her." Ana froze. Her reflection looked calm, but her heart thundered. Babysitting? Is that what they thought? That she needed saving? She finished her prep quietly and walked to her trailer. She didn't cry, but she wanted to. She wanted to scream, not because she was weak, but because she had worked so hard to be taken seriously, and how they whispered behind her back. She stared at her phone. A message from her mother waited. "Your father's doing better today. He smiled when we watched your old movie." Ana smiled faintly, but it didn't last. She put the phone down, curled up on the small sofa, and stared at the ceiling. A knock. On the door? "Yeah," she called out. It was Keanu. "You ready?" he asked. She hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah." But as she stepped outside, he paused. "Something's off," he said softly. She shook her head. "Just nerves." Keanu didn't push, but as they walked to set, she noticed him scanning the crew more than usual. His eyes weren't just calm now, they were reading the room. They began shooting. Today's scene was quiet again, but emotionally charged. It involved a moment of near confession. Ana's character was supposed to almost admit her feelings, then back away. The director wanted it to feel tense but restrained. They rehearsed once. It went well. But on the second take, something strange happened. One of the background lights burst. A loud pop sparks. Someone yelped. Ana flinched so hard, she nearly dropped to the ground. Her breath caught in her throat. The set froze. A few people laughed nervously. Someone clapped mockingly. "Cut," the director said, annoyed. "What was that?" "Must have been the fuse," the lighting tech muttered. Ana tried to stand straight. It's reset, but she felt her hands trembling. Her ears ringing. Keanu stepped beside her. "You okay?" She nodded, but she wasn't. "Want to step off for a minute?" he asked. Before she could answer, the director shouted, "Let's reset. We're burning time." Ana stepped back. Her chest tightened, and then another voice called out, "Maybe give her a break. It's not like this is her first delay." Words weren't loud, but they were sharp. Keanu turned. Everyone froze. He didn't yell, didn't raise his voice. He just said, "Who said that?" Silence. "Say it again," he continued, "but say it to her face." No one moved. "No." He said, "Then maybe don't say it at all." The tension was thick, but Keanu wasn't angry. He was calm, firm, and deeply disappointed. He turned to the director. "Give us 5 minutes." The director, caught off guard, nodded. Keanu walked with Ana to the edge of the set near the trees, away from the noise. They sat on an old wooden bench. Ana finally spoke. "They think I'm fragile." "No," he said. "They're projecting their own fear onto you." She looked at him. "What does that mean?" "People hate what they don't understand, especially when it's quiet strength." She exhaled sharply. "But I don't want to be a burden to you." He turned to her, eyebrows raised gently. "Ana, you're not a burden. You're a light. But even light flickers in the wind." She swallowed hard. "Sometimes I feel like I'm holding everything together with tape and hope." Keanu nodded. "That's still holding." Soft breeze passed between them. Then he added, You don't need to be loud to be brave. Ana closed her eyes, letting his words settle. When they returned to set, the air was different. Not because people had changed, but because Keanu had drawn a line. Quietly, firmly, and it reminded people who he was not just an actor, but a leader. They rolled the scene again. Ana delivered her lines with restraint. But fire burned in her eyes. Keanu responded with a subtle pain that filled the screen, and when the take ended, the director whispered, "Perfect." The crew didn't. Applaud, they watched, humbled, respectful, that night. Ana received an anonymous note under her trailer door. It read, "Your silence speaks louder than their noise. Thank you for reminding us what real strength looks like." There was no name, but she had a feeling who wrote it. She stepped outside, looking for Keanu. He was there, sitting beneath a tree, reading a paperback novel by moonlight. She walked over and sat beside him. "Did you write this?" she asked, holding up the note. He glanced at it and smiled faintly. "No," he said. "I agree with it." "Ali," she laughed quietly, then added, "I'm not afraid anymore." He nodded. "Good, cuz tomorrow's scene is the big one." The night shoot and the betrayal night shoots always felt different. The energy changed. The lights felt harsher. The silence between takes was deeper, heavier, almost sacred. Tonight's shoot was scheduled for midnight and emotionally charged. Flashback scene meant to tie the entire film together. And everyone knew it had to be perfect. Ana arrived on set early, bundled in a heavy coat, hair tied back, headphones in her ears. She was focused, steady, determined. But the moment she stepped out of her trailer, she felt something was off. Not with her, with them. The crew. Some didn't meet her eyes. Others whispered behind monitors. She saw two assistants glance at their phones and then look at her like she wasn't supposed to be there. She frowned, pulled her hood tighter, and walked toward the makeup tent. Keanu was already there. He turned when she entered and immediately saw the tension in her eyes. "What happened?" he asked. "I don't know," she whispered. "Something's wrong." He handed her his phone. On the screen was a tabloid headline. Ana de Armas accused of on-set breakdowns. Sources claim Keanu Reeves forced to carry production. Beneath it, paragraphs twisted everything. They mentioned delays. They quoted anonymous crew members saying Ana couldn't handle the emotional weight. They called her unpredictable, dramatic, difficult. Ana stood frozen. The article was trending, shared everywhere, not because it was true, but because it was easy to believe a woman was too. Emotionally easy to turn quiet pain into weakness, she felt. Her throat burned. Who would leak this? Keanu's eyes were calm, but his jaw clenched. Someone looking for attention? Someone who doesn't understand what strength looks like? "This could ruin everything," she whispered. "My name. My reputation. I worked so hard." "And nothing in that article erases that," Keanu said gently. "It's not one word. But people believe what they read," she said. "Then show them something louder than the lies." "What?" He looked her straight in the eyes. "Truth." The director called for them on set. Scene was ready. The cameras, the lights, the crew all waiting. This was the most emotional scene of the film. A memory sequence. Ana's character walks through a dream of her past, remembering her greatest joy and deepest regret. No dialogue, just motion, expression, silence. It was hers alone. And now, the world thought she couldn't do it. Ana stood at the edge of the set. The cold night wind brushed past. She heard a voice inside her say, "Run." But she heard another, louder voice, Keanu, say, "Stand." She stepped forward. They rolled the camera. Ana walked through the set, barefoot, vulnerable, the scene called for. Her to touch old memories, photos, books, music, moments of love lost and found. Her eyes filled with tears on cue. But they weren't fake. They were real. They were for the betrayal, for the lies, for the little girl inside. Her who once dreamed of being seen without being torn apart, she fell to her knees. In the final moment of the scene, looking up into the artificial moonlight, tears falling silently down her cheeks. She didn't cry like a victim. She wept like a warrior, cut silence, not. A single crew member moved. Even the director, normally so quick to critique, was speechless. Ana stood slowly. The director wiped his eyes. That was acting. That was life. She turned, walked off set, found Keanu waiting by the tree again. He didn't ask how it went. He already knew. You saw the camera guy crying? She asked softly. He wasn't the only one, Keanu replied. Ana exhaled deeply, feeling everything and nothing at once. Then her phone buzzed. A text from her agent. The studio wants to issue a statement. They want to call the article false and stand by you. Ana stared at the screen. Should I let them? She asked Keanu. Do you want to? She thought about it. No, she said. I want them to watch tonight's footage instead. Let the truth speak for me? Keanu smiled. That's brave. It's necessary, she said. The next morning, the studio leaked the scene to a private critic group. One of them posted a review online hours later. Ana de Armas delivers the most powerful performance of her career. If this is what they call unfit, then the rest of us have a lot to learn about Grace Under Fire. The headline started. Trending this time, for the right reasons, fans flooded her social media with love. Co-stars began reposting the scene, calling her fearless. Even fellow actresses from other projects sent messages of support. Ana didn't say anything publicly. She didn't post a statement. She didn't tweet. She let her work speak. She let her silence shout that evening. She sat by the fire pit outside. Her trailer, Keanu joined her, 2 mugs of tea in his hands. You okay? He asked. Not yet, she said, but closer. He nodded. I've been in this business a long time, he said. And I've seen a lot of people pretend to be. Strong, yeah, she asked. You're not pretending. She smiled, eyes soft. Neither are you. He looked at the fire. They'll try again. Others. People like that, they always do. Then I'll rise again, she said. Keanu raised his mug. To quiet strength. Ana raised hers. Walking through fire, ... and not burning. The final take and the legacy left behind sunrise painted the sky with a soft orange light, brushing over the hills like a slow exhale. It was the last day of filming. The final scene. The final take. Everyone felt it, not just because the schedule was coming to an end, but because something else had changed. Something deeper than production. Deeper than the script. Ana stood in front of the mirror in her trailer, not fixing her makeup, not adjusting her costume, just breathing, remembering so much had happened over the past weeks. And not all of it had been kind, but what stayed with her most wasn't the pain. It was the quiet moments. The guitar under the tree. The whispered truths. The silent support. And Keanu. He had never once taken the spotlight, but he had made sure she never stood in the dark alone. A knock on the trailer door she already knew. Come in. Keanu stepped in with 2 coffees in hand. I don't want what? Sugar. 1 cream. Just how she liked it. Morning, he said gently. Morning, she replied. Her voice soft but sure. They sat for a moment without speaking. You ready? He asked. I think so. You've done more than they asked. Of you, he said, and more than most could ever do. Ana looked down, smiling. You taught me how. He shook his head. You taught yourself. I just reminded you. A few minutes later, they walked to set together. The entire crew stood waiting. It wasn't a complicated scene today. No stunts, no dramatic lighting, no shouting, just a walk. Their characters, years later. Meet again, older, changed, softer. They don't speak. They just pass each other on a quiet street. Share a glance and keep walking. It was a moment meant to say everything without words. The director gave the cue. Rolling. Ana stood on one end of the quiet road built on the back lot. Keanu stood on the other. The camera followed them both in a slow track, step by step. They approached each other. Ana's breath was steady, her eyes clear. She didn't need to act, because everything she had lived through now lived inside this moment, as she passed Keanu's character. Their eyes met for 3 seconds. No lines, no soundtrack, just presence. Keanu's eyes, steady, familiar. Anna's grateful, whole, she kept walking, cut, silence. Then the director whispered, "That's it, that's the one." No one clapped. Not yet, they just watched, because something had ended. But something greater had begun. The crew slowly gathered as the director stepped forward. "That's a wrap on Ana and Keanu," said now. The clapping came. Not loud, but long. True. Ana turned. To Keanu? She felt like saying something profound, something deep. But she didn't need to. She just hugged him, tight. And he held her just the same. When they pulled back, she whispered, "Thank you for not saving me." He smiled. "You didn't need saving? You just made me feel like I could save myself." Keanu nodded. "Then I did my job." That evening, the wrap party took place in a small, open-air courtyard near the studio lot. Lights strung above, food trucks parked in rows, laughter filling the space. But Ana sat by the edge, near a quiet patch of grass. Keanu joined her again. "Always find the quiet corners," she said. "There, where people really talk," he replied. A young production assistant walked up, holding her phone. "Ana," she said shyly, "I just wanted to say thank you for how you carried yourself, for showing us it's okay to not be perfect. I watched you every day, and it made me feel like I could be more than just a background voice." Ana's eyes softened. She stood and hugged her. "You already are more," she said. "Don't wait for permission." The girl walked away, wiping tears from her cheeks. Ana turned to Keanu. "They're watching us." "Always," he said. "But more important, ... they're learning." A few days later, an article was published not by a gossip site, but by a respected film journal. "The Quiet Revolution of Ana de Armas Grace, Grit, and the New Face of Strength in Hollywood." The article told the real story. Not the rumors, not the breakdowns, but the rise, the transformation, the unbreakable calm in the middle of the storm. Ana didn't ask for the spotlight, but she'd become a symbol of something rare in Keanu. He didn't speak in the article, he didn't take credit, but the final paragraph said it best. In an industry obsessed with volume, sometimes the most heroic thing is to walk beside someone and say nothing because your presence says enough. That's what Keanu did. Because of it, the world got to see Ana shine. Months later, the film premiered to standing ovations. Critics praised it. Audiences embraced it. But more than the film, people remembered the story behind it. The story of a woman who refused to break, and the quiet man who stood beside her when the world wasn't kind. Ana started a new foundation called Quiet Fira, a nonprofit that supported young actors facing emotional pressure in the industry. Its mission was simple. You don't have to shout to be strong, you just have to keep showing up. The first donation came from Keanu. A check written quietly, handed over without ceremony, and a note that read, "For the ones who need a place to breathe." Ana framed it on the wall of the foundation's office, not to show off, but to remind herself where it all began. On a quiet set, under a tree, with a man who didn't try to fix,